way up further than you think. And what this is going to help you do is the reflection on the side of the car is going to be more of the white wall, so you have a nice consistent color. If I were to have this thing too far over, you kind of start picking up whatever's back here behind you, whether it's a ladder or tools, anything like that. And you just want to try to eliminate those reflections. In addition to doing this, what you're doing by pulling the wall way over here is the lighting over there is going to act like a backlight, and it's going to help separate the car from the background, especially on a white car. It's much more noticeable. If you have all the lights shining in the same direction, it's giving everything an even lighting, whereas having them positioned right here, all the light bouncing on this side of the car is helping it pop out and stand out a little better. So between those two things, for these corner shots, what we like to recommend is you kind of make like an invisible line. So if you position yourself about where the top of the door would be to the center of the wheel, and then put yourself on the end of that line, all your corner shots are going to come out looking almost identical, no matter what kind of vehicle it is, so that when your customers are looking online and they see all the little thumbnails, they're nice and uniform. However, if that's not your guys' first photo, it's not going to be a big deal. But it is still nice to have something to follow. That way your photos look very nice and consistent. This circle is 28 feet, so it's going to fit a dually pretty nice. When it comes to your smaller cars, if you guys get a Miata, a Civic, anything like that, you don't have to be perfectly centered, but the closer the better always. But when you start getting into those bigger trucks, you really got to get this thing as centered as possible. Even if that means hopping out and just kind of eyeballing the front and back. That way you're nice and centered. And the reason why is because if I was too far forward, I'm going to end up stepping way back here to get that photo, and you start picking up the track and the floor outside of the circle. And you want, like I said, you just want everything to look nice and neat and clean. Another thing you guys are going to notice, and it's a bit of a setback, is because the lights are positioned where they are, they're stuck. You can't just move them. You can't turn them on and off. You get hot spots. So what I like to recommend, and you'll notice like right here on this fender, you got like a bunch of circles popping up, is just play with it a little bit. You can usually move this around just enough to get those hot spots to kind of fade into a body line or into the headlight or something like that. And it turns out looking really nice. Another thing to do is going up and down. You don't want to be shooting way up high, but if you come down low, you can also kind of see that the lights kind of fade into the body line. So if you just play with your angles on the photos, you get those hot spots to kind of disappear, and it'll look a lot nicer. Just step back for a second. Corner shots are pretty much always going to be the same. You're going to want as much of the wall reflecting off the car as possible. With the front corners, you'll line yourself up from the door to the center of the wheel. However, when you get to the rears, we recommend using the side mirrors to the center of the wheel instead of using the door. Mostly on trucks, because it's going to look a little funnier if you try to line up that door with the truck side. So we go with the side mirror. If you guys turn around, you can look. If I use on this, it almost is the same, but depending on, I guess, depending on the length of the bit. I really like that truck.
They're selling it.
Yeah, I'm waiting on my Cybertruck. With the fronts, sides, and the rear, pretty much you want the lights to be kind of consistent. This is going to be another example where the hot spots get really out of control. But if I come down like this, it really, because of these little just random body lines and stuff, it helps blend the lights in a little bit better. Some cars, it looks really cool when it hits the headlights just perfectly, because then it looks like the headlights are just shining back at you. Then it would be the same again with the corner shot. While I'm on this, sequencing. Because you guys have the ability to just rearrange your photos, it's a lot easier to shoot this, like do all your outside and then do your inside. And I'm gonna go over the inside a little bit more in a second. But it saves you guys a lot of times from spinning this thing 20 times when you only have to spin it like 5. So it's easier to shoot out of order and then reorganize them before you upload. Because I know some dealerships will go from like the steering wheel to one corner to like the seats to the dashboard to outside to one of the wheels. Don't shoot in that order or you're gonna be here all day. If it helps you guys at all, you can come up with, look at your photos, and this is gonna really pertain to the interior stuff, is look at your sequencing and make a little printout, like a cheat sheet. That way you can follow along and it'll save you guys from spinning this thing 100 times. go over that more in a second when I get to the interiors. But one thing that I like to point out is SUVs and minivans. Let's just go back to that side. SUVs and minivans are kind of a pain in this thing because the whole back section is always glass. So if I'm trying to line up this shot over here, so this one's not too bad. A minivan would be much worse because on minivans, you know, this is pretty much entirely glass. So what's happening is these hot spots are coming in and you're just getting a giant circle of light right there. So what I always recommend you guys do, and again, it's kind of hard to visualize on this because it's not doing what I want it to do. But if you push this a little further to the back, it moves the giant circle that would initially be here, it moves it back onto the bottom. So it's not just so bright and standing out in the photo. It does increase it a little more on the front, but overall it just looks 100 times better than leaving it where it would be. It's the first minivan you guys get in here, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. For interiors, we start with the front. But I can't stress this enough, when it comes to doing anything interior, just keep the lights behind you. No matter what you're doing, you're going to keep the lights behind you. So what's going to happen is if I try to keep these lights even, don't mind the dirt and mess up. Whoa. See how it creates like that crosshatch kind of shadow look to it? Nobody wants that. So you push this forward and just keep the lights right behind you. It lights up everything real nice. They're usually over your head, so you're not casting a shadow inside yourself. And then, you know, you might have to move it a little more than that, but you get the idea. The same is going to be, again, for everything interior-wise. Secondly, drop the windows. And I'll do that for you. Where's the key? James. Talking to myself. Yo! Yeah. Where's the key? Good. It's going to get really cold up here, but we also would like you guys to make sure you're turning the car off when once you pull in and once you're parked and ready to go, for two reasons. A, the carbon monoxide is just going to build up in here. It kills you. Secondly, especially on a lower car, because the exhaust runs straight down the middle, over time it's a constant heating and cooling on our floor. This has only happened twice that I know of, is that you'll go to pull in one day and right down the middle, because how he showed you, they're just tiled, they're in like little tabs. The tabs just want to snap off, and then the center will kind of buckle itself. So make sure once you pull it in, get it nice and centered, just make sure the cars are off for the rest of the time being. Obviously, when it comes to certain photos, like your gauges and everything, you want to turn it on so you're not having the check engine light and all that stuff show up. Just don't leave it running the whole time it's in here. So again, with the lights, I like to have them always behind me no matter what I'm doing. If you're doing, this is another part where I wanted to step back about the reorganizing everything. So shoot out of order. Basically, anything I want to shoot that's going to be this direction, I want the lights to be behind me so I don't have to spin this booth 20 times. So like right now I could get the full dash if I wanted to from this angle. Otherwise, you know, just hop in the back seat, get the same photo. Any little thing I wanted to do, you'd probably be doing it from the driver's seat, so this would be slightly over this way instead. But this way, when I go to get a photo of like the entertainment center, the center console, anything like that, I've got all the light coming in from the back, lighting everything up, or even further to the side. So I'd probably put it somewhere around there. But additionally, do you guys break this up into sections? Where you do like the drivers, the center, and then the passengers? Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, what's gonna help you here is having the lights behind you, is that anything you pick up that's in the glass and beyond is gonna be the white walls. if I tried to spin this thing around where the opening was toward the front and you go to take a picture of the inside, you might pick up somebody walking by, a ladder, anything like that that's in the way. And sorry, losing my train of thought. Shooting out of order. Anything that I'm going to shoot in this direction, I want to be with the lights facing as they are now. Now, when it goes to the other side and I want to start doing photos of the seats, I'll spin this thing all the way back around one more time. Have the lights coming in just perfect so that they're hitting the seats. And now, in addition to having my windows down, I can take that photo from right here. Instead of trying to squeeze into the door and get a photo of the back of the seats like this. And again, you're also going to make sure that anything up behind the glass and the windows is going to be the white background instead of other stuff. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Everybody got that? Okay. Last thing we like to do, a little tip, is your sunroof. So if I were to go take a picture of this sunroof right now, it's not too bad where it's positioned at. But sometimes you end up picking up the harness. So you see just a white roof with a black line going through. So rather than do that, what we started recommending everybody to do is, even if you want to step up or if you have a step ladder or something, and shoot down into the car. So when you open this up, shoot down into the car. It's another way to show them the interior, but it also shows that obviously it has a sunroof. Again, I'm not trying to pick on your sequencing or give you guys change anything like that. These are all just little tips on positioning the lights and everything. That's pretty much it. The same could be done with the engines. If you guys are cleaning the engines well enough, how I had the lights directly behind me on the trunk, just do the same with the engine shot. Also with your wheels, you want to position the lights so it's coming down on the wheels real nice. Obviously this car is filthy, but you get the idea. Questions, comments, concerns? Seems simple enough?
Yeah.
And then, nope, I think that was it. Again, the only problem, the only issue you guys should ever have is this thing is keeping it clean. There's nothing really to break unless somebody makes a mistake. There's no maintenance really required. There's nothing motorized, nothing's powered, so nothing's gonna break or fail on you. You can kind of see, when these things start to get dirty, the dust for some reason clings in like areas. So like, it's not just gonna be an all over thing. You're just gonna notice this giant circle of dust building up.
Look at it. Picks and chooses spots to cling to.
Well, I think also the roof might have taken some of that off when we put it up.
Also true. We'll give it another wipe, but chances are it's going to keep happening.
And it's going to be staticky for a little bit. If you notice, every now and then you might bump into it. It's going to want to shock you a little. Not enough to hurt, but it's going to be noticeable. That does die down after a while, especially after a few cleanings. Oh, and the last thing, like he had mentioned, we're going to end up filling all these seams in. So when you are wiping it down, if you're using anything other than the Swiffer, like if you're actually doing it by hand, just be careful when you're going over the seam so you don't end up peeling the whole thing out. Because then people, like, instinctively, they try to grab it and peel it, and it just tears the whole thing out. But other than that, you guys will be good. We do have about another hour or so left of actual work, and then cleaning up and getting out of the way. So you guys will be ready to start using this thing first thing in the morning.
The cords here, the black cords, there's nothing you can do with those then, huh?
No,
Okay.
Unfortunately, it stays that way. It has to lay on the roof, so it's got a little bit of a support to it. But because you're always going to be shooting from the opening here, and I actually show you an example real quick. So, say I was lining myself up for this corner shot. When you go in to actually take the photo,
You'll see it. Gotcha.
Like just a small little fraction of the roof.
Look how sick that looks.
So you're never going to see that cord in your photos.
I can't even tell you how happy.
Again, the only time you'll see that cord in the photos is if you're doing that sunroof shot straight up. Then obviously it'll show up in that. Otherwise, you guys should be good. Like I said, you're barely picking up any of the roof. Even if I go down and get lower. So even if I come down real low, you get a much more of the roof in the photo, but still you should never see
okay, you don't see
that
anything.
line.
Gotcha. Perfect.
That is nice.
That is fancy.
Did I miss anything?
But I just want to stress again, our boss is super particular about customer service. If you have any issues at all, please give us a call. If the light goes out, don't wait a month to say something. Call us, we'll do something about it immediately.
Like we said, we bounce around a lot. We actually have one of our guys just moved into Dallas, so he's even closer than we would be.